This is a great question. Let's talk about it. So, very quick backstory. I grew up extremely conservative, went to Christian school, grew up in the church, like very, very conservative. And when I got into high school, the social group that I ended up in was like your very stereotypical Trumpers. Like, yeah, own the libs. And that's like their entire personality, right? So not just like, hey, we're conservative, that aligns most with our views, but like truly, this is who we are. And if you disagree with us, you're just a dumb idiot. For example, the dad of one of my friends, she really wanted to go travel, and her dad's mom was from a different country, so there was some way that she would be able to get like a visa or dual citizenship or something if she just had a copy of his birth certificate. So she asked him for it because her dream was to go travel and live in another country. And her dad's response was, no, because I'm not going to help anyone become anything other than American. Like that's the level of what we're dealing with here. But anyway, so there was a lot of social pressure on me to be conservative growing up, and I was also extremely ignorant. Like, all of the history that I got was very much your standard, like, white American Christian history. I talked about this in a video a while back, but I genuinely thought Malcolm X was a superhero until I was 17 years old. 17. I was 17 years old when I found out Malcolm X wasn't the leader of the X-Men. And I share that to show, like, to illustrate, at great embarrassment to myself, how little I knew about any history that wasn't white American Christian history. So fast forward a little bit. I started traveling a bit in 2018, and I ended up spending 3 months in Guatemala. And going and being a part of or viewing a different culture, I think, is invaluable. I think every single person should have to go immerse themselves in a different culture before they're allowed to have such strong negative opinions about cultures different from their own. It was a completely transformative experience for me. And seeing how the Guatemalan people treated me when I was the one coming to their country not speaking the language, I tried my best with Spanish. I sound like I know what I'm doing. I can get the accent pretty well, but my knowledge is very little. So oftentimes people would hear how I sound, think I was fluent, and like talk to me. So then finding out that no, I actually need you to slow it down. Like the few things I know how to say, I can say really well, but I really need you to slow down. How patient they were with me, how accepting they were of me, how much they tried to help me. It really, really showed me, it illustrated to me, wow, this is very different from the attitude that I have had towards people coming to my country doing the exact same thing. Then fast forward a little bit, and I joined a Bible study where for the very first time in my life, I was surrounded by women who I trusted, but who were different from me. There were some really wonderful Black women in the group. There were some women in the group who had liberal political beliefs, and really for the first time I was exposed to different viewpoints. Then the pandemic hit, and things really took a turn for me when George Floyd was killed. My best friend at the time, her husband was a police officer, and he had worked in some very, very dangerous, like, gang territory places as a cop. And he had firsthand experienced a lot of things that people, conservatives, were using as examples of basically like justifying racism. And of course, there was the whole dynamic, and continues to be the dynamic, of cops and their history with how they tend to treat minorities and all of that. And this guy actually joined the force specifically because he wanted to make a difference. And so all of the stuff that he was talking about was not theoretical. He had genuinely experienced what he was sharing about. Meanwhile, all of us who held such strong negative opinions about Black people and the Black experience and racism and all of that, our thoughts were just that. They were theoretical. And so inside of our social group, my best friend and I started to kind of question things, because she had been extremely conservative as well. Pretty much our entire group had been like ridiculously conservative, like embarrassingly conservative. And so she and I kind of like felt it out with each other, and kind of picked up on the fact that we were not exactly towing the party line anymore. And it was kind of this like secret meeting of the minds of like, wait, you too? You're questioning this too? Oh my gosh, okay, let's talk about it. And so we started to talk about it, and we started to learn about it, and we started to really educate ourselves on, wow, we've been missing all of this. Our education has completely failed us. Our like the people around us who should have been teaching us have failed us. There is so much that we don't know that we should have known, and now I don't know that I believe this anymore. And really the biggest factor, I would say, was that I started taking my faith a lot more seriously. I started digging into who is Jesus? What does he say? What does it mean to follow him? What does scripture actually say? And the more I dug in and the more I got to know Jesus, the more I realized, oh wow, my beliefs as a staunch conservative just do not line up with who Jesus is. So I've really made it a point to keep learning and keep digging in and keep talking to people on both sides of the political spectrum. I really, really want to drive home the point that as Christians, we should not, absolutely should not just align ourselves with the conservative viewpoint. There's very much a tie between conservatives and Christians, to the point that they're basically synonymous to a great degree. And scripture's so clear that that is not the case. That is not how it should be. Our allegiance should be to Christ, and so much of what Jesus talks about just does not line up with, when you break it all down, where conservatives' allegiances lie. And I've made all the arguments myself. I voted for Trump twice. I defended this exact man in these exact ways myself. Now, fortunately, in this most recent election, I did not vote for him. But I can absolutely say that I defended him with everything in me the first time around. Now, the second time I had my qualms. I didn't exactly feel safe not voting for him. That's a whole other story that I'm not going to get into. But I was fully bought in his first term, his first election. So I get the thought processes. So this was more long-winded than I wanted it to be. Does that answer your question? I'm an open book. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I've had to come to terms with that I was extremely ignorant. I'm still very much catching up. And I cannot, with scripture, justify my previous voting choices. And I'm happy to talk about that. I think we need to talk about it. I think being open to admitting that you were wrong is a huge, huge thing that a lot more people need to be open to. And it's really freeing, honestly. It's very freeing to be able to go, oh wow, I was wrong, and not have to hold that so tightly. We don't have to hold being right so tightly. So, okay, that's all.